So hi guys, I am Shivashankar Hasna and I am continuing my BTech at IIT Kharagpur in the Department of Electrical Engineering. In this today's video, I will be explaining you about the optical activity. So what do you mean by the optically active compound and how to identify whether a given compound is optically active or not by the help of plane of paper. All these things I will be explaining you in detail in this video. So watch the video till the end. So first of all, let's see what do we mean by the optically active compound. So the compound whose solution rotates the plane of plane polarized light, that is PPL, is known as optically active compound. The compound whose solution rotates the plane of plane polarized light is known as the optically active compound. This phenomenon is known as optical activity. If the compound rotates the PPL towards right, then the compound will be known as dextrorotatory or D isomer. Or if the compound rotates the PPL towards left, then it will be levorotatory or it will be known as L isomer. So here is the picture. This is a ordinary light and it is passed through some crystal. Then we will get plane polarized light. Here is the solution and we are observing from this side. Please note that we have to look from this side in order to decide whether the compound is levorotatory or dextrorotatory. We have to look from this side. Don't look from this side. So we can't make solution in exam hall, or then how to decide by the help of planar paper. It is how to decide whether a compound is optically active or not by the help of planar paper. So let's see it. The almost concept of optically active was something like this. A compound is optically active if it contains chiral atom. The chiral atom may be carbon, nitrogen, sulfur or phosphorus, etc. This was the necessary and sufficient condition. That means if the compound contains chiral atom, that means the compound is optically active, or in other words we can say if the compound is optically active, then it should contain chiral atom. This is the necessary as well as sufficient condition. So here is an important point, chiral atom. So what do we mean by chiral atom? So sp3 hybridized atom connected to 4 different group via 4 different single bond. The atom should be sp3 hybridized. It should be connected to 4 different group via 4 different single bond. This type of atom will be known as the chiral atom. So the almost concept says that if a compound has chiral atom, then it should be optically active, or if it is optically active, then it should contain chiral atom. This is the necessary as well as sufficient condition for optically active. After that, people came across the example of alane. So what is an alane? Alane is nothing but a compound containing cumulated double bond. The structure of alane is something like that. So what is the interesting part in this compound? That this compound does not have any chiral atom, but still it is optically active. This compound does not have any chiral atom, but still it is optically active. So the people changes their definition to the presence of chiral atom is not necessary but sufficient for optical activity. Presence of chiral atom is not necessary. It is not necessary, but it is sufficient for optical activity. That means if a compound do not have chiral atom, then it can be optically active, but it was the sufficient condition. That means if a compound has chiral atom, then it should be optically active. Then again people encountered another interesting example. What was that interesting example? That was nothing but the major tartaric acid, which structure is given here. What is the interesting thing in this compound? This compound has chiral carbon atom, but still it was optically inactive. This compound has 2 chiral carbon atom, This is one chiral carbon atom, this is another chiral atom. This compound has two chiral carbon atom, but still it was optically inactive because of the presence of plane of symmetry. So finally people said that presence of chiral carbon atom is neither sufficient nor necessary condition for optically active. Presence of chiral carbon atom is neither sufficient nor necessary condition for optical activity. So what is the condition for optical activity? Here is the condition for optical activity. It says that if the compound has non-superimposable mirror image, then it will be optically active. In a different way, we can say that if in a compound plane of symmetry, that is POS, is absent, center of symmetry, that is COS, is absent, alternating axis of symmetry, that is AAOS. If these three things are absent, then the compound will be known as optically active. Otherwise, the compound will be optically inactive. So basically, you have to check these three things. COS absent should be, POS should be absent, and AOS should be absent. But again, it is seen that the sigma, that is the plane of symmetry, is nothing but the S1. The center of symmetry, that is equivalent to S2. So in broader sense, we can say that if Sn is absent, then sigma and I both are also absent, then the compound will be optically active. So what is the modern definition of optical activity? The modern definition says that if a compound has Sn absent, then it will be optically active. If Sn is absent, then the compound will be optically active. Here is a trick for student. Student, you have to just remember two things. If the compound has POS absent as well as COS absent, then it will be optically active. If at least one of them is present, then the compound will be optically inactive. So you do not have to be worried. You just have to check POS and COS. If both are absent, then the compound will be optically active. If at least one of them is present, then the compound will be optically inactive. This is the whole story. So in order to check whether a compound is optically active or not by the help of plane on paper, you just have to check the POS and COS. If both are absent, compound is optically active. If at least one of them is present or both are present, then the compound will be inactive. So this is the whole story. Thank you for watching this video.